So here's the real question. How do dentists like you, who aren't willing to let insurance dictate how you will run your practice, who want to create incredibly profitable practices without sacrificing your time or sanity, how do you create the strategies to ensure your practice not only survives but thrives in the 21st century? That's the blaring question, and Dr. Steve Schalintz is here to provide the answers. Welcome to Dental Practice Freedom Radio.
What is up, everybody? This is Dr. Steve Schalintz, and I want to welcome you back to another installment of Dental Practice Freedom Radio. And as you know, we are talking about the shift from disease care to healthcare. And in this episode, what we're really going to focus on is the third step in the process. If you remember, the first step was identifying the practice you want. The second step was identifying the ideal patient. And now we're going to define our blue ocean. Now, you know, I've talked about blue ocean before in the past, blue ocean, red ocean. The Blue Ocean Strategy was the book that I got this from. And I really want to elaborate on that today because the ability to define your blue ocean is so important in your practice. So I want to talk to you about the blue ocean I chose, why I chose it, and how that has to do with wellness-based dentistry. Before I get into that, I want to go and actually read some things to you from some of the part of the program that I created, Dental Sales Secrets, on what is a blue ocean, right? And I want to be thinking about, what is he talking about? And so I'm going to give the definitions of blue ocean and red oceans. Now, red oceans, you want to think of it kind of like they're bloody and everybody's competing in the same market space. And blue ocean is like you can swim to freedom, and you can have this practice of your dreams and not have to worry about, contesting marketplace forces, okay? So in the book, Blue Ocean Strategy, it's defined this way. Red oceans consist of industry boundaries that are defined and accepted, and the competitive rules of the game are known. Here, companies try to outperform their rivals to grab a greater share of existing demand. As the market space gets crowded, prospects for profit and growth are reduced, products become commodities, and cutthroat competition turns the red ocean bloody. Blue oceans, in contrast, are defined by untapped market space, demand creation, and the opportunity for highly profitable growth. Although some blue oceans are created well beyond existing industry boundaries, most are created from within red oceans by expanding the existing boundaries. In blue oceans, competition is irrelevant because the rules of the game are waiting to be set. So I want you to think about that. Does that actually sound familiar? Right? What's happening in dentistry today? Too much competition. What we do is becoming commoditized. And as soon as something becomes a commodity, guess what? The only thing that patients can base what they're getting on is through price. And so now patients are asking questions they didn't ask before. Well, what is the cost of that? How much does the insurance cover? They're trying to establish value, and they're trying to figure out, why is what you do so unique and special that I couldn't just go down the street and find another dentist that's willing to do it for $100 less, right? Now, I realized very quickly on, I studied economics in undergrad to some level, and I've always loved, learning about economic forces and why people buy what they buy. And I knew immediately if I was going to stay in the environment I was in, not only did I not feel good emotionally because I wasn't able to give patients what they actually were looking for, which is the least amount of dentistry and to spend the least amount of money overall and have health. But from an economic standpoint, it made no sense for me to stay in this commoditized thing that we call dentistry. So I knew I had to create my own blue ocean. And so I started to look at what things do I really love doing and why is this important? And I came up with 4 blue oceans. Now, I talk a lot more about this in my program. It's not the point of this podcast is to dig into this, but I started to look at what do blue oceans look like in dentistry today, and almost all of them are focused on creating wellness for their patients because not a lot of people are doing this right now. And I think we will see more and more of a push towards wellness. And if you don't believe me, just go in a grocery store now if you were to compare how many organic products there were in a grocery store now versus 5 years ago, you'd be astonished at the level of choices and actually how far prices have come down. But those people that got into that organic market when it first started, they pretty much own a lot of the market share now, right? I'm trying to think of the guy that does like the oatmeal, Bob's Red Mill or whatever, right? That guy's everywhere. He's got all sorts of products now, but he started with like oatmeal. And because there's such a demand for organic food, he was swimming in a blue ocean for a long time, and now it's becoming red. And then so what you would do as a company is you redefine what your blue ocean is. And when you start to do that, price doesn't matter. People that are willing to buy organic food don't care if it's $3 more or $4 more than the nearest, comparable food product because of what it is they're offering. They're offering something in a blue market, in a blue ocean, right? So if you start to look at this, I started to make a logical conclusion that there's really a couple different aspects of wellness-based dentistry that you could get into that are quote-unquote blue oceans. Now, regardless of how you feel about these things, doesn't matter per se, but I want you thinking this way. Biologic dentistry is one, right? And we talked about that in the last podcast episode. I think that gets a bad rep from a lot of dentists because they think it's hocus pocus. And I'm not talking about biologic dentistry in that every amalgam needs to get removed. What I'm talking about is starting to look systematically and systemically at patients rather than simply just treating symptoms and sending them on their way. So you've got biologic dentistry. You have dentistry that focuses on treating TMJ and TMD and chronic tooth wear. Here's a news flash. Tooth wear is at epidemic levels. If you look across our population, tooth wear is everywhere. No pun intended. You could have a practice that truly thrives only doing that if that's what you wanted to do and you knew how to structure it the right way. Complete prevention dentistry, so really focusing on health. It could be technically a blue ocean. And airway is huge right now. Sleep dentistry is going to become more and more important because we are actually kind of the drivers of that ship because physicians have kind of lost their way. And so as dentists, we have a responsibility to our patients to be able to offer them the best that we can. And sleep dentistry is absolutely important. Now, I think what we're going to find is the way that we're currently treating a lot of sleep apnea is still a pathologic solution, which is when you pull, and this is just my own clinical opinion, so you can berate me or whatever, but when you're trying to treat something, but you still don't look at causes, it could be a Band-Aid, but it might not be the best Band-Aid we could ever create. So we want to look at healthy systems. So pulling somebody down and forward with an appliance could save their life because it opens their airway, but it can do so at the expense of jaw joints. So there are some solutions that are out there that might be able to address both. Way beyond the clinical scope of this podcast. Don't even want to get into it because I know I'll get some nasty reviews and ratings on, oh, how dare you. We got other time for that. Maybe I'll start a clinical podcast. Who knows? But the key is what I started to do is identify TMD was my thing. This is what I wanted to treat, right? I wanted to be that dentist that did it. And I started to look subjectively at like what makes a blue ocean in dentistry. And I kind of came to the conclusion that there's a few things. One is that less than 10% of dentists perform the service or skill you're looking into. TMD is not practiced by a lot of dentists. So I'm already in a blue ocean because not a lot of people want to do it. Okay. The second thing is it's almost free of insurance involvement or is generally not reimbursed. Now, this is the earth-shattering thing for most dentists. They don't understand this. So like, but if insurance doesn't pay for it, nobody will do it. I am telling you because insurance doesn't pay for it is exactly why you want to do it. You can set your own fees. Nobody else is going to be doing it. I can guarantee you if TMD is typically not covered, so guess what? Dentists don't do it. They don't even know how to code for it, right? And because of that, I don't ever really have to worry about competing. And I actually don't have to compete on price because no one else is doing it. I set the fees. Right? And if they say, well, does insurance cover it? Well, unfortunately, insurances don't feel that TMD is something worth covering, which is really a shame because you have it and you need somebody to do something for you. And unfortunately, insurance companies don't care enough about you to want to offer some type of coverage for TMD. Game changer. It's a practice changer. It literally is. And then the third thing that I found is, like I said, most blue oceans are focused in dentistry right now are focused on creating health rather than simply treating disease. If your thing is you just want to do general dentistry and maybe do some veneers, you're going to struggle because everybody's doing veneers. See, that doesn't, if you're trying to do veneers, that doesn't meet criteria number one, which was less than 10% of dentists perform the skill or service you're looking into, right? If you're trying to make a blue ocean and just create exceptional patient value, which could work, but it's a little bit more difficult, and everything you do is generally reimbursed by insurance, it might be more difficult for you because you don't have that one thing you can go to that's outside the realm of insurance. I'm telling you, the more you get outside the realm of insurance, the more free your practice will be. It's a guarantee. I laugh when people are trying to get all the PPO patients into their practice. Go for the fee-for-service ones. Go for the ones who don't have dental insurance. Learn how to market to those patients, and you'll be infinitely happier. That should actually be part of your ideal patient, which we talked about in step 2, right? So all of those things you have to be thinking about when you're creating your blue ocean. What is that one thing you want to center your practice around? And then once you center your practice around that blue ocean, in the next podcast episode, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you then on how you actually build around this blue ocean you just created. You're going to have to create a practice that is focused on building around that blue ocean you just created. And I can tell you, when you start to do that, your practice will change immensely. So hopefully you got some value out of this. As always, go rate and review the podcast. Go to iTunes, Dental Practice Freedom Radio. Leave me a rating. Leave me a review. It'd be greatly appreciated. You can also go to dentalpracticefreedomradio.com, and you'll get a case acceptance master pack. Just simply put in your email as my thank you for listening to this podcast. And hope you have a great day, and I'll see you at the next episode.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode on Dental Practice Freedom Radio with Dr. Steve Schlintz. We'll see you on the next episode.